Welcome to another posting of this Mark II Jaguar wide-body two-door coupe. As you're aware, those who are watching this channel, I'm trying to change some things to try and make it better. One of the things that I want to do is try and assess the comments of which I'm getting. It's difficult to, well, it's not so much difficult, it's the time spent where I'm having to try and write in onto the YouTube channel what the comments are. My wife talked about having a live chat, but it's like that's not going to happen, just simply because the people that subscribed and are watching the videos, they're all over the place, and for me to sit down and talk to a few people who would be on the chat would be a waste of my time, and I think theirs as well. So I'm going to try and put in at the start of my videos if there's any specific comments that I feel not that nothing's unworthy of answering, but there are some questions that are already being answered or like videos to look at, whatever. But I'm going to be picking out comments. As more people, if they subscribe, it'll get more difficult for me to make comments on most things, but I will still try and do some comments at the beginning of the video for whichever I'm doing, whether it's the Jaguar or the Land Rover. So that's where we're going with it at the moment, because I feel that's the best way, especially those people that's come onto the channel really early for the Jaguar. So it's sort of like giving a sort of like a shout out to those people who are interested in what I'm doing and the positive comments, because I'm always surprised how well the Jaguar is being received, and even the Land Rover seems to be getting some good comments, even though it's only new as that part for the channel. So I'm going to go through some comments and just let's see what we can come up with answers, and then I'll show you what I've done. It's not, well, it's not a lot, but it's taken me some time to make these bits, but I'll show you as we go into it. So comments as they are, and I try and pronounce the name of you gentlemen, because I think they are all gentlemen at the moment, and gentlemen seem to be the people that's really into cars and things. Not saying that ladies aren't, and if any ladies are, welcome to channel and what I'm doing, but it seems to be lads all around at the moment. So first gentleman, and if I get your name pronounced wrong, I apologise, but anyway, here we go. Easy one. Alan Salt, 5 metre walk around in the sun. Yep, I would like to give it a good airing outside and get some good angles and perspectives of the car, because obviously in the sun it does show up a lot better. The yard which I have in front of my unit is really small, so at the moment that's not going to happen, but when the car is more finished, I get the doors in and the glasses on, I might get it out somewhere, get a recovery truck just to move it out somewhere and get some better pictures, and I can get those up, because it would look a lot better and it would add a new dimension definitely to how the car looks. So thanks for your comments for that. This is the difficult, I'm sorry, Uli, I don't know if it's Wervner or Wenner. Uli Wenner or Werner, I apologise for you pronounce. I know I've got that wrong somehow. But I am from Yorkshire, so that's my excuse. When I talked about maybe how would having to maybe move if things go crazy in this country and I couldn't continue to go along with what's happening, I talked about going to Taiwan, and so Uli, you mentioned as long as Taiwan's independent from China, yeah, I know, but the thing is with China, Taiwan, at least the Taiwanese know who the enemy is. So I'll leave it at that. And yes, it would be nice to have the car sat next to Project Utah and Churchill from Retro Power. I've been watching those. I see a few others from other channels, but those seem to be the two main cars on that channel Interesting as well that they're building projects as people, I don't know whether they've seen my car or somebody else's Mark 2s that they've done. I know there are a couple out there do catch some attention, so yeah, it would be nice to get them and to see what kind of feedback I got outside of those cars against what I've done. So that would be good fun. So yeah, that would be good. Michael Davis, update on Mark 2. Yes, I've got updates on. They have been sparse. It's a bit like water in the Sahara Desert. Yeah, I understand that, but where things have been happening and my laziness to produce videos at times as well, and I felt that sometimes doing a video wasn't really necessary because I hadn't really appeared to have done that much, even though when I do get on with car I do throw myself at it, but and with other things as well. So, but yes, there's updates. So if you just go onto my channel and have a look around, you should find what I've done lately. And I am trying to put content up every other week on each project that I'm doing. So, but thanks again for your interest. Alan Dyson, stay in the country. People need a backbone. Yeah, but it's difficult when you have a portion of society maybe fighting against another portion. So it's as difficult as that. But no, I don't want to go. Like I say, I love this country, and it would mess a lot of things up for me if I leave. But I don't want to do. And yes, you love to see the project finish. Me too. So yeah, hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers that things will settle out and this stupidity will finish, and I can continue doing what I'm doing, and that we can all get something from this. So yeah, Paul Harris. Now, Paul, you've asked a number of times about the car, and as I was going through as I was going through the comments last night, I saw you come up a number of times. The car is going to be used, hopefully. It's not running at the moment because I've not built the exhaust system for it yet. The fuel lines are all everything, it's all wired up and all that. It's just the exhaust that's not on because I've not built that yet. I have to do some calculations for the runner lengths against the camshafts durations, so I can get the runner lengths right for that set of cams that's in. It's just standard cams that's in the engine. I've not done anything to the engine except port clean it and recondition it. So as you would just normally do with a normal recondition. But yeah, and in Central Australia, welcome to Central Australia. I've got a few people watching in Australia, so yeah, thank you. Another, in fact, just let me get here. Yeah, Paul, here we are. Yeah, you asked about the grill as well. I think you asked about the grill being awkward to mount. It would be, but it's just in place. I've just put it in place because the big hole, I thought it looked better with it on. But yeah, they are quite awkward. But I have, because I've modified the radiator set, there's certain parts that make it easy for me to get to. But it's not totally awkward, but yes, you're right. Especially with the radiator set, its original radiator in, that must be an absolute nightmare to try and get into the nuts. But go on the little studs there, so yeah. But yeah, cheers, Paul, for your interest in the car. Steve Vaness, I think that's it. Variety is the spice of life, and we all need characters. We do. It's good. I like YouTube because you can find content like this where content providers are doing things because they love what they're doing. Sometimes it's just a case of they just want to make money, and I have one person which I'll probably hit on when I get to it, talking about monetizing the channel. Well, if my channel picks up and I'm doing good videos, then I might monetize it to some degree. But it's about getting people's interest and what I'm doing more than anything, and seeing how far I can go to do what I'm doing. So yeah, we need creators, and YouTube is brilliant for creators. So yeah, thanks for your comments. Adamski Kijowski, I hope I got that right, but Adam, cheers for your comments. Yeah, there are a number of Mark IIs, like I've commented already, that are out there being built. There are some professional companies modifying Mark IIs. CMC did one for Ian Callum, who was the chief designer of Aston Martin and Jaguar. He had one modified, nowhere near as radical as this or Project Utah or Churchill, but still a modified car. And that got a lot of comments from CMC. In fact, CMC was approached by quite a number of people asking if they would do a number of other cars like Ian Callum's. They approached apparently Ian Callum, and he said, "Yeah, you can do some, but there's supposedly a limited number of them being built. Whether they're being started, I don't know. But I think they're wanting, about £325,000 for a build. I could be wrong on that, but I think that was the figure I've seen. So, but yeah, they're a beautiful car in its traditional trim or modified. There's some good ones out there, and there's some not so good, but people love the cars and they do what they can. So yeah, and like I say, thanks a lot, and I don't want to leave. No. Ross Malia. Yeah, I hope I can continue this project. You asked about the project, continuing it, and to make content. Yeah, like I say, I enjoy doing this, and one of the reasons why I've come to sit in front of the camera and so you can see me is I want to make it more, I don't know if it more open. So it's not, I'm not hiding behind the camera. You can see that, you know, this. I enjoy doing this sort of thing, and just yeah, I enjoy it. So I like making this. I asked my son if he wanted to sit in front of the camera or do something, but he says absolutely not, and he'd edit because my son does the editing of the videos. So, and he says no, we're not having that. Paul again talked about Mid Wales, moving to Mid Wales. I've looked at some places in Mid Wales actually, but I've always loved Scotland. When I was a kid, my father, when he came out of the army, he did long distance lorry driving, and his main run he used to do was Scotland. So when I was a kid, he used to go up there, and so I've always had this thing about Scotland. But I've been all over the place, and Scotland, Wales is a beautiful place as well, because I've been there as well, a number of places. But yeah, but no, I'd like to say I'd like to stay here. Vic's project. Cheers for your comments. I've been on your channel. Yeah, and you've done some good stuff there. Enjoy that, and especially as a Mark II Jaguar lover as well. So, yeah, cheers, Vic. I always appreciate the comments, especially ones that's positive, as everybody will. Bill in Australia. Yes, thank you. I hope this new year is better than it has been, and that what it's projected to look like. I hope the same for you and your family, and especially all those in Australia. I would say, from what I've seen, doesn't look right clever to some degree. I don't know what it's like all over Australia, but some places I've seen, it does look pretty mental. So I hope all you in Australia see this video, have a good one, and things will free up and it'll all go back to where it was, I hope. Paul Muffet, you talked about monetizing the YouTube, yet like I've mentioned earlier, and it's something that I've thought about, and maybe if I can do better content, then it won't be an off-put having adverts coming on and upsetting the flow of the video. So yeah, we have thought about it, and that's in a sort of sense one of the reasons why I'm doing this, but it's not totally the reason. Like I've said, it's the content. I want people to enjoy what I'm doing, because that's what I love about YouTube. People can put the stuff on and you can see there's always something on YouTube that you'll find interesting, and yeah, it'd be good to see it on the road someday. So cheers for your comment. Now this is a name, I'm sorry if I get this totally wrong. Nuvolare, and I believe you're in France. As always, cheers for your comments. And actually, it's another place I'd been looking at about 4 years ago. There were a number of properties which I looked at. A number of them in Brittany. But you're right, the farms, you can get a farm with a load of outbuildings, and they're just for pennies nearly compared to other places. I'd even looked at a big Spitz barge, because of your canal networks over in France. So I was looking at one of the big Spitz or Freycinet, I think I probably pronounced that right, Freycinet gauge barges to go on the big canals in France. I looked at one of those and maybe modifying one of those as a living and workshop, and I could move around. But because I've got a young child, well, he's 15 now, but I felt moving around might be a bit unstable for him, and especially my wife as well, although I'd proper enjoy moving around all over the continent on a big barge, but where things are on continent. But yeah, but thank you, and like I said, always grateful for the positive comments. Nick Turner, lightning, yes, the lighting is, I have to have trouble because this industrial unit which I rent, it did have some skylights, but my new landlord took them out and just put normal sheets on, so it made it really dark in here. And even though I've got a number of lights in, it's so dark. And so yeah, I know, but it's when I get the money to bring into this, then I'll do it. I know I've seen some that's quite cheap, but I need some proper. I'm talking to a friend who's big on photography and stuff, and he says you just got to get the right kind of lights and reflectors and things. So there's a little bit of expense, but they're not stupid. I've had a look, so I will deal with it. And like I say, I want to make this better for everybody. So cheers as always for your comments. Gary MacDonald. What, now I think you've asked this twice now, Gary, and I'm sorry that I've not. I did do a video before Christmas, but because with the new camera and everything, we hadn't got the ISO set up properly, and it was pitch black was the video. All you could do is hear me, and that was just out, and then things had messed up and everything. So yeah, wire wide body, and yeah, it is a nice colour. It's an MG colour. It's not Jaguar, it's an MG British Racing Green. Is this? I can't remember the code, but if I dig out the paperwork for the paint when I bought the paint, I'll get the code and I'll tell you the code. But yeah, but wire wide body. Well, like I said with my earlier video, which I posted up, it was a project. An exercise to see what I could do. Now, the original drawing which I made, so I did a scale drawing by hand of the car, and I widened it all so slightly, not as wide as this. It was still quite wide, but not as wide as it is now. But I wanted to make it wider on the back, just simply because the track on the back is narrower than it is on the front on Mark IIs. And the Mark 1's even narrower than the Mark II, I believe. So I wanted to get it slightly wider than the front to give it more stability on the back end. The axle that's in it now is out of an XJS V12, so it's a IRS power lock unit it's in. I was looking for a narrower axle from an S-type, an old S-type, or an E-type, but the E-types are as rare as hen's teeth and they're mega expensive, so that put that one out. And the S-type, the old S-type, 3.8 S-types, they're still quite hard to get out of. And that was one of the axles that I was actually looking for to put in, and then I was going to put the diff out of the Jag in that. But I got this axle and I thought, well, for maybe 2-3 inches max more than what the other axle would be, I'd just put this in. So it widened it that little bit more. So it just kicked it out a little bit more. And with the wheels as well, it says 0 offset. So the dish moved it out a little bit as well. So that was a reason for it being wider. It's just to make the back end stay more stable, and as well, like I said, the paneling work. So that was the main reason for the wide. I just felt it looked better, because it's one of the things when you look at any of the people, it's when they used to race these and they put bigger wheels on, they all stuck out at the back, and it looked awful. Ian Callum's car, where the spats go into the actual rear quarter, they put a small, like the Combs arches in. Well, Combs wasn't an arch originally, it was a piece of copper tube that was brazed into the actual rear quarter for the Combs cars when they raced them. But Ian Callum's car, what CMC did, they modified some what they call Combs arches, and they just flared them out a bit. But you can see some pictures where it's going round the corner and it looks like the wheel's going to fall off. It's stuck out that much. So like I said, I wanted to widen it, but I didn't want to lose the character of the car, and that's why you have it flowing round the back, a bit like the XKs, 120s and 140s. So but hopefully that's cleared that up for you, Gary. And cheers for your interest in the car. Russ Cook, time and just the body. Right, so you asked about the time it's taken me to build it, not without painting, and cost. Generally, when I've been building bodies, so when I did the E-Type took me probably about 2.5-3 months, I think, to fully build the body, and that was 6 days a week, roughly about 10 to 12 hours a day I was throwing at that to get that body turned around. It was a bit hard for me because me and my brother bought the car to restore, and then a month in my brother died, so try to get my head around that, and so I threw a lot of time at that to try and turn it around, because there's the last project that me and my brother worked on. So, but yeah, and for the cost, just a standard restoration build is costly for a standard car. I would imagine building a car where you're making panels literally, so having to make books to put the panels on to get so you can keep it all equal around the car, and any other things that starts dragging the time out. So how much time I've on this, I would say but I have been, you have to know, I have been learning wheeling on the English wheel, so that took me some time to try and get my head around it, especially where the panel after the B post starts coming around over the wheel. I had a right nightmare of trying to get those compound curves to form right. So it was difficult. So I've thrown some time at this. Just this valance here, what I've made, because that originally was, it came out. So here, it came up and across there, and it's just got a flange-like lip, and then the big bumper came over it. So I cut that flange off, and I hand made all this lower valance. So this is all panel beaten by hand in a number of pieces. So that's one. So there's 4 pieces in this valance. So that's all. So that took me some time, just panel beating that out on leather sack thing full of sand I've got with mallet, and then dolly and hammer, and try to spoon it and try to get that shape. That was a bit of a nightmare. So that took me some time. And other bits and pieces. So I would say just on the body on this car, bearing in mind, like I said, that I've been learning more about panel making. It probably took me, if I were to add it all up, it probably took me probably about 8 months, I would say. But the more skilled a person will be, they'll be able to knock it out quicker. But you still got a standard restoration before you start going down that avenue. And it obviously depends on how far your modifications want to go as to how long it's going to take even a professional. Because you can't just make one part and then make the other side exactly the same without having some form of book or something to make that panel so it's equal. So it's quite entailed is hand making something like this. So cost wise, I would probably approach Retro Power or a company like that who specialise in doing this kind of work and finding out what they would charge, what they generally charge roughly for the kind of work. So like Utah or the Churchill one they're doing at the moment. They're building. They're going to start on an E-Type Series 3 Roadster. Like I said, there's a number of they will be able to give you a rough idea better than what I can. I don't know what labour charges are now for this kind of work, so I couldn't give you a costing. But what I would say is it wouldn't be cheap just for a body. Never mind if you were going to do all the paint and everything other than that yourself. I wouldn't say it was cheap. That's probably why I decided to do it and learn it myself, because I have no money, so it's easier for me to build something like this with the limited funds that I have and have something nice at the end of it, or hopefully have something nice at the end of it. So yeah, but once again, grateful for your interest in car. And last but not least, a gentleman who has been really on board with the Jag right from pretty much the beginning when I started posting them out, when he found I've got my YouTube channel started and then I started putting them up on Facebook, and I think I found his, he came to me and he asked me if he could put pictures on his Facebook page. So his page was Andrew Jagnuts Morris was his page, but he's into cars full stop. But just a shout out to Andrew Jagnuts Morris, mate, have a good one, hope you have a good new year and your lass, and stay well. Because he's been keenly interested in the car ever since pretty much it came out. So that's the comments. There are more, but there were so many, and going back, it was like I spent ages looking through them last night trying to pull out the ones that are late. So I hope that's assessed all your interests of which you require from the car. There are loads more, I'm sure, that I've missed, but that's where we are, and hopefully I'll try and keep on top of these. Once more and more people, hopefully, maybe, more people come onto the channel and start watching it and putting comments in, I'll have to be more critical about what I choose, just because otherwise I'll be here for ages, and I've probably spent about 15 minutes already whittling on about what I've done and this, that and other. But I wanted to just try and get them out there, the answers for the people that's asking the questions. You're looking at this content, you want to know more, and I get that, so that's why I've spent this time, and I spent it at the beginning so that people won't switch off as soon as I got to the end of the video and then did the comments. But you can fast forward it, but anyway. So let's see what we've been doing. I've been on with the back panel still for the subs. I wanted to get it finished yesterday, but I've been making brackets and they've taken longer than what I wanted, but we'll go through that. So we'll go into the office and we will have a look and see what we've done there, and I'll also show you a tool I had to make some of the brackets. So if we go this way, so back panel. When you last saw it, I'd got the amp set out onto it and I was starting to route the wiring, the main power cables round onto the amps. And I said that what I was going to do was I was going to make some clips, or buy some clips to clip all the wiring up, and then I was going to make a cover to go on over, which covers the breaker, which I've now got, the earth block and all the other bits and pieces, the distributor for the main power feed to the amps. I said I was just going to put a plate over there for the wiring to go around. Well, the plate what I thought I had wasn't. I'd actually got a 5-bar checker plate, and that wasn't going to go on this. It looked awful. So the only bits I had was scraps. So that limited to what I could do. But then when I started making a cardboard template as to what I wanted it to look like, most of it was redundant anyway. So I decided to continue on and make the parts out of the bits of scraps that I had to do what I needed to do. So I finished putting all my bits and pieces on. So this is the breaker, which I bought. So this is a 125 amp. Instead of putting, a lot of people just put fuses in, but just having a breaker in, and if it pops, I can just reset it, and I can disarm it if I want to as well. So it made a lot of sense to get a breaker, and it wasn't expensive. So I got that, and the distribution block, which is still on the wire in the main bit, but that's the actual carrier for the main live block. So the wire came to there, then like I said, it distributes out and around and whatever. So that goes in there like that, and then the power, when I make the power cable, it will go into there. So I got everything set out, and all the wires was going to come through this porthole here. But then I realised with all the wires I got, and I wanted to keep the RCA cables away from the main power cables, well, coming through here, that would mess it all up. So I put a port up here. So this is a cover that I made to go over this point here, to cover the wires coming out of there, just to tidy it up. And then I made another one to actually go over this port here. And so that's what I made there for that. For the brackets, instead of buying some brackets because of all the different sizes of wires and where they were going and how many was going to be, I've made some. So I'm going to show you the tool I made for putting this fold in here. It made more sense having a tool I could put the same step in time after time, instead of getting them on the folder and try to bend it and get them all right. So that's what I've done with the brackets. So these brackets just, they fasten on in certain places around the panel, and then as the wires are sat in there, there's just cable ties to hold it all together and tidy it up. So I'll give them a little polish up, and then they'll be riveted on. The main part, which is carrying the wires, the RCAs and the speaker cables, come down around to here and over here. The wires from this amp come from the back here and round and up to there. So they only need a couple of brackets like these to hold those in place. But these wires, I didn't want them just tracing all over the place. I wanted to keep them together, like I said. So this is the brackets that I've made to carry the wires. So like I said, because I made it out of scrap, I couldn't make it in one piece, so I had to make it in two pieces, which was a bit of a pain, because this is my second set, because the first set was just like, yeah. But basically it locks together like that, then this pin sits up in there like that, and that sits on there like that, and then the wires will come down onto there, so they're going to be fastened to there. So that's how it's going to look. I was hoping to have had this all ready yesterday, but when I was putting the vinyl on, it decided it wanted to try and lift for some reason. I was going to put, because it's contact adhesives I used on this, in fact, if I can find it. Not wishing to sound like I'm advertising this, because I'm getting nothing from this company, but Millbrook, this CT704 amazing contact adhesive. You could lift the Titanic off bed with this stuff. It's that strong. So, but yeah, so it started to bubble a little bit because I didn't put it on both sides. I just put it on one bit and then stuck it down, got it all nicely, and I worked over, and then I got it. Then when I come back to it, it must have been when it was gassing as it was trying to evaporate off, because you're supposed to do it dry to touch on both sides, but I hadn't, because it's such a big area, and trying to brush it all on, it would have been a nightmare, and it touching. So I just put it on and then just set it as it was tacky dry. Luckily, as it's dried out, it's actually some of all of the bubbling's gone. It actually looks really quite good again, so I'm happy with that. So that's what we are. But this will be done next week when I start back on the car on Thursdays. I'll finish this off Thursday, and then I'm going to start reassembling it. So hopefully the next video that you'll have will be with this all together and the boot assembled, or near assembled, because all the parts are they are all made. The only bits that I have to make is where the hinges go here for the boot. I'm going to make some like gaiters to tidy all that area up, so when you lift it up you'll just have some nice leather gaiters covering the hinges, just to make it look prettier. So I'll go show you the tool which I made to make these. I've made one already cut out to show you, and it's really quick, dead simple, and it just makes some nice little brackets that you can support things on, whether it be brake lines or wires or whatever. Just dead simple. So let's go have a look at what I've done with the bracket, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, good. So my brackets, which I made for mounting the wires onto the back panel. The width of it was dependent on how many wires and how thick the wires were. So I got bits of wire, and I was measuring them up to see exactly how many and how far it had to be. So that's why some of the brackets are slightly wider or slightly smaller. If they're slightly smaller, then the bit which I'm going to crank there is slightly smaller, just because I'm going to put some bends in to all the wires so they don't slide all over the place. Just makes it a bit neater, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just at bending. I'm just going to flip up these ends, and then I'll come back, and then I'll use this tool. I'll show you this tool. So let me just bend this and I'll show you that. And the reason why I'm doing this is because my son got on to me last week, and he says, "Dad, why don't you do some stuff showing what you're doing?" And I says, "Because it takes too much time. And I only have my son here on Saturdays, so I said to him, you're only here Saturday, so I can't do anything, I can't show anything." So I thought the bracket would be a simple little exercise of showing what I do. So I've just bent those up, and then I'm going to use this tool. So this tool, basically, it's some quarter plate, which I just welded on in the ends, measured the distance I wanted where the foot is, which is going to be mounted to the panel. I cut out 2 slots. This former here sits in there like so. So it's just a nice little fit. So that goes on there like that. So the bracket sits on there like that. I've got another little piece of plate which sits on there, and I'll just set that there, and this is just so it doesn't mark the aluminium. Then I've got a pair of mole grips. Let me just get that there and get it set up. So I'll set that roughly in the middle like that, clamp it down so it's just nicely. Then this here, sit it over there like that, and then to vise. So I've just put it in the vise like that, and then I just tighten it up until it stops. Undo it, take that off, take that out, and I've got two faces running perfectly parallel with each other. Just something dead simple, and it's repeatable time after time after time, and it doesn't mark it as long as you don't crunch it down with the vise. And I've got a span. Let me get my ruler. So the span for the tool is 40 millimeters. So I've got 40 millimeters a span there, so I can get quite a broad foot on the bracket, so I can get this quite wide for the amount of stuff I can put on it. So it's like I say, it's a handy little tool what I made. It did take me a bit of time. It took me about 3 hours to get it all right, and so it was doing what I wanted it to do. But yeah, something dead simple, just to make a bracket, and like I said, repeatable. So there we go. That's where we're at with the Jaguar so far. Hopefully next week I can get that back panel finished and I can get it start putting back into the car. And I should have, and I'll try and get some light in there, some better light, so you can see, because it is like the black hole of Calcutta in back of there, and especially with this workshop where there is no natural light coming in except through the door, which is no good for us. So yeah, so hopefully I can have that the following week. I'll be doing the Land Rover next week, so we should have something for you. And then I'm looking at probably doing the exhaust system. So we'll see how that goes. Just finally, as always, thank you for all the positive comments and your interest in the car and what I'm doing. It really is much appreciated. In every comment that you give, they're all positive, really. I do hear at times of people who have got channels where you get people, armchair warriors, literally trolling them. There's one couple that I watch, and if you're interested in project sort of stuff, this couple's making, or I should say, rebuilding an old Second World War boat. I think it was a patrol boat originally, but it's called Ship Happens. They're not asking me to promote this. It's just that they're interesting, and you know, when they were telling me, telling their channel that they'd had some people trolling them, and it's like, why? You know, if you're not interested, don't bother. But like I said, I haven't had that really. I've had some comments that's, you know, why are you doing this way? But you know, I get that. As long as it's positive criticism, I have no problem with that. But I haven't really had that, so I'm grateful really that you are keenly interested in what I'm doing and you like what I'm doing, and ultimately that's what the channel was about. So thank you again, and you all take care, and yeah, until the next one, take it steady.